Hi and a very warm welcome back to the garden. In this video I'm going to show you how to pot up dahlia tubers. Dahlias just have to be one of my favourite summer flowers. They just keep on going, bringing lots and lots of colour and interest all through the summer and well into the autumn. The two I'm potting up today are perfect for a container or the front of a border. Now before I start, we did overwinter some dahlias from last year in the shed, and unfortunately they didn't survive. They were just covered in mould when I got to March, opened the newspaper up, and they were just ridden with mould. Unfortunately, this is not the best place to be storing them, and we found that out with bitter consequence. So this year we've got some brand new ones in, and what we're going to do going into the winter is we're going to dig them up when they get frosted and we'll bring them inside. We'll do the same process in terms of storing them, but this time we won't leave them in the shed. We won't make that same mistake again. We'll bring them indoors and leave them in probably in our back bedroom, somewhere where they can be completely frost free, completely mold free, and there's less susceptibility of us losing them for next year. So there's a few things to consider when you're starting dahlias off. Now April is generally the time when I start to get dahlias and get them potted up, and one of the main things you need to consider is getting the right size container. When you do buy them at this time of year, they come as a tuber. So this is a tuber, so you can see all these are tubers. So this is like the storage organ of the plant, and just there on the top is where last year's stem was. So that's how it looks. It looks a bit of a strange looking thing, but this is what a dahlia tuber is. And you can buy these online, you can buy them in shops, you can buy them pretty much in garden centres, nurseries, and at this time of year this is how they will come. They're usually in a plastic bag, and they're usually coated in maybe sawdust or something like wood shavings or something, just to keep them dry. So when you do buy them, if you're buying them in a shop, the first thing to make sure when you do look at them is that you're checking to make sure that each of these tubers is nice and solid. If you go in at it and you're feeling squidgy ones, don't buy that one. Make sure you're buying ones that are nice and solid. So that's how they look, and the container has to be big enough to hold the actual tuber. So this is the container I'm going to be using for this one. And as you can see, there is plenty of space. The tuber's got lots and lots of room there to grow. And then as these grow, these will fill these containers, and we'll be placing them into much larger containers for their final flowering position. So if we get on to planting, I'm going to start by saying this is a multi-purpose compost that I'm using, and what I've added to it is a product called perlite, and that is useful when you have plants that like to be free drained, because we don't want to have any tendency of these tubers rotting. So this will be nice and free draining. Dahlias do like some moisture, but they don't like to be sat too long in moisture, so you need to have free draining soil. So that's the compost mix. The first one I've got to plant is one called High Fidelity. So as I've just shown you before, these are all the tubers. This is the stem that was growing from last year, and all these are other tubers around the side. So you want to make sure, just inspect them, make sure that none are squishy and that they're all intact, so all that feels nice. So this one is a nice one. It's 90 centimeters tall, and it has lovely apricot blooms with a bit of a cerise kind of colour as the reverse on the petal. So a nice lovely dahlia to grow, and this is going to be suitable again for containers like I've already said. So you basically just place it down on top, just like that, and when it comes to refilling with compost, you just want to be placing enough compost just so you can still see that little old stem. So you can give it a little bit of a jig, just press it around the roots and around those tubers. So just enough, just so you can no longer see the tubers anymore. But you can actually still see the stem at the top. So that's about the kind of depth that you want to be planting them. And when these start to grow, you're going to see lots and lots of shoots appearing around near where that central stem was. And this is a really good way of getting your dahlias started, because it's much too cold to be planting these in the ground, particularly where we are in the country. So you can get these started off indoors. So these are going to be placed in our summer house like we normally keep our dahlias every year. And these will be starting to grow. And then what we can do is also, because they will have lots and lots of shoots growing quite early on, we can then start to take cuttings if we need to as well. So we can increase our stock for free just by getting these started nice and early and getting them going. And we will be getting earlier blooms because we're starting them off instead of waiting until the risk of frost has passed, which in our case is looking at May time. So these are going to have a good month or so of growing before the risk of frost has passed, and we can get them then into bigger pots and out into the flowering positions. So that's the first one, that's called High Fidelity, and I'll just pop in its label so I know which is which. Label in there. And then the other one I've got, lovely orange bloom. It has a lovely deeper centre, so a lovely deeper orange centre, and this one is called Josie. And if you can have a look very carefully there, you can start to see it's got little shoots beginning to grow. Those little pink buds starting to form. So I suspect once we get this in the pot, it'll start romping away and we'll start to see those shoots poking up through the compost, particularly within a few weeks. So just placing it all around and just firm it along. Probably enough. And don't forget the label. So that's a nice name, isn't it, Josie? So that's two lovely dahlias potted up, ready to start sprouting. Don't forget to give them a water and just keep a check on them. You want to keep them so that they are not too dry but also not too wet. So that is it. That's as simple as it is to pot up dahlia tubers, and this is a great method of getting them into growth much sooner. These are going to be growing away in our summer house. We'll keep an eye on the watering regime, making sure they don't get too wet or too dry, and then we'll come back to these and we'll be planting these in bigger containers where we can then display them in our front garden. We're going to plant them in our front garden particularly because we don't have an issue with slugs in the front. There's nothing really for them to munch on. It's pretty much a sterile environment for them not to want to be there. So anything that's too susceptible to slugs, we do tend to use the front garden for that. So these will be growing in there. We have grown dahlias in the front before in containers and they've done particularly well and no issues whatsoever. So that's the plan of action. That's what we're going to do going forward in future years and this year. So I'll give you an update on these when they start to grow. I might even do another cutting video possibly and show you how to take cuttings from these as well. I did do that a few years ago, I think it may have been 2024. So if you're anxious and want to see it straight away, do please check out our playlist for propagation, and you will find a video in there we did from a couple of years ago where I took some cuttings of some dahlias that we grew at the time. So thanks so much for watching. We will see you very soon on the next video. Please give us a like, please subscribe. If you have any comments, drop those in the comments box below. Let us also know in the comments the dahlias that you're growing or your favourites. That'd be really good to share. We will see you very soon on the next one. In the meantime, please do take care and happy gardening.